Hey, everybody. On today's show, another underclassman leaves the Wisconsin basketball team. What does next year's roster even look like with all the departures, all the holes? What can we actually count on? And a big time quarterback recruit coming on campus. Hopefully, the Badgers can close him down.
You are Locked On Badgers, your daily podcast on the Wisconsin Badgers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to Locked On Badgers, your daily source for everything happening with the Wisconsin Badgers football, basketball programs, the sports landscape. Everything is here. As always, thank you for making Locked On your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get podcasts, also on YouTube now. We really appreciate everybody tuning in and listening. Let's get into segment one, the first big topic here, Lorne Bowman. Yes, another young underclassman has left the program. That makes it 4 this offseason. Obviously, Johnny Davis going to the NBA. Matthew Moores, Ben Carlson, and now Lorne Bowman, all in transfer portal. All had kind of unique stories. Lorne Bowman has dealt with some issues at home. You know, he hasn't been able to find that comfort zone being away from his family. So no character issues. Greg Gard said, he has been inspirational and important part of our team for the last 2 years and will forever be a Big Ten champion and a Badger. Our entire staff and team think the world of Lorne. We intend to stay close to the Bowmans and wish Lowe all the best in his future. Once a Badger, always a Badger. Obviously, we want what's best for him. Not every situation is right for every kid, but it does leave another hole in the basketball team, right? And that's what we're here to talk about. As we mentioned, that's the 4th underclassman to leave the program this offseason. It's another guard that has to be replaced. And again, Bowman, he's not a guy who played a huge role this year, but he is a guy who in limited time shot 40% from 3, right? He's a guy who, at least when he was healthy and contributing, this was a dude that was the first guy off the bench for Wisconsin at times. Definitely the first guard off the bench. So it's another hole. It's another roster spot that's going to need to be filled. And it's something that quite frankly, is just going to add to the job that Greg Gard has this offseason. He's a guy who we all thought, even if his ceiling, wasn't an all Big Ten caliber guard, even if his ceiling wasn't Chucky Hepburn, this was a guy that had been able to stay kind of integrated into the team, and wasn't in a good spot off the court. This is a guy who was going to contribute for the next 3 years. He was a guy who's going to come off the bench, hit threes, maybe even be a starter, definitely be a guy playing 20, 25 minutes, good defense, showed some ability to get to the rim as well, rangy, long-armed kid. And he was a pretty big time recruit for us when we got him. Not a 4-star guy, but definitely a guy who was a good win. So we're back to the drawing board again. And now kind of where does that put us? We talked about the 4 guys we left this offseason. Let me go like this. Bowman, this is not a surprising move, right? 2 years in a row now, Bowman has had some off the court. I don't want to say off the court issues because that makes it sound like he was getting in trouble legally. He just, he has family issues he has to take care of. And this being at Wisconsin right now is not the best fit. And he had a really nice post, by the way, too, on social media where he thanked Badger Nation, thanked the fans, thanked the coaching staff, just really spoke very glowingly of his time here. And I think this is probably a win-win for everybody involved. It's tough, I think, on a coaching staff. If you don't know, but again, if we're just talking about basketball here, if Bowman came back next year, we don't really know how locked in he was going to be able to be. Not even of his own volition, he just was struggling here. So this allows him to get to a spot that's more comfortable, and it provides some clarity and probably a little bit of closure for the Badgers coaching staff so they can really plan moving forward with a few more openings. So what do we need to do? What do the Badgers need to do to kind of replace what they were losing potentially with Lorne Bowman? Well, they need another guard, right? So we already talked about the transfer market, some of the needs. We talked about guard. We talked about front court. You have to now you got to get 2 guards. You have to get 2 guards, right? Because coming back, and we're going to get into the next section, Chucky Hepburn. But besides that, there's not a lot of answers there. So you're going to need a guard to play alongside Hepburn, and you're going to need somebody to come off the bench, somebody who can come off the bench, hit threes, provide some type of playmaking, and preferably someone who can do it from the jump. This can't be a project guy coming in. Now, it doesn't have to be a star, but it's got to be a guy that can come in and get 15 minutes, 20 minutes of average Big Ten play at a minimum. A guy who can bang some threes, get to the rim a little bit. Some of what you're counting on with Bowman, he has a combo guard. Really, ideally, that's what this spot has to be. And it's just going to be really tough on Greg Gard, man, because now he's got 4 spots to fill. Those 4 openings are major openings on this team in terms of a couple guys off the bench, a backup center, and 2 guards. So, yeah, it's unfortunate. Again, I don't think anybody is really surprised by Lorne Bowman leaving. I think we were all kind of just waiting on the official announcement in one way or the other, while obviously, again, wishing him the best of luck. Um, and I also would like, I think it's also fair to point out, I think at a lot of programs, if you had a player who for 2 years in a row, due to kind of personal issues, family issues, nothing that he did wrong, no character flaws. Because again, we want to be very clear here. This is not a Lorne Bowman is transferring because he's a character problem or the locker room doesn't like him or that he's uncoachable. Everything we've heard couldn't be further from that, right? Everything we've heard, this guy is super coachable. Players like him, the teammates like him. He's good in the locker room. The coaching staff loves him. So he's not transferring those reasons. But at other programs, I think Wisconsin's a little unique in this, and I think Greg Gard deserves a lot of credit. I think at other programs, if you had a guy who had missed a couple times of 2 seasons, the coaching staff would push him out. They would tell him to move on. And in this case, Greg Gard and the coaching staff, they did everything they could. It sounds like to support him, to welcome him back, to do whatever they could. There is something to the truth of it's more than just basketball at Wisconsin. I think the coaching staff is more invested in the players there. And I think that's true on the football side too. I think Paul Chryst and Greg Gard are cut from really the same cloth in this, that they really care about the players, right? That's something I think as Wisconsin fans, we probably have it a little unique here. I think a lot of bigger programs, big time programs, and let's face it, Wisconsin's a big time program, right? We're not talking about a MAC school here. Wisconsin's a big time program with 2 coaches who, if we're being honest, even unbiased, I think we can really say, really give a crap about the players, really care. I think it's unique. And I just would say hats off to Greg Gard for handling this entire Lorne Bowman situation. Hats off to Lorne Bowman for doing everything he can and really being gracious and grateful on the way out. And we wish him all the success going forward. He's a good player, definitely a Big Ten caliber player. He's a guy that we were hoping on, counting on, definitely someone that we thought had some potential going forward, and it's just not going to happen at Madison, not going to happen in Wisconsin, and that's fine. It's another person that will have to be replaced this offseason, but again, this is not surprising. We wish him all the luck in the world, and going forward, we're going to kind of get into where is our roster now with all the defections, everybody that's left, graduated, transferred. I want to talk about in our next section, what do we actually have coming back that we can count on, right? I want to get into that next. But first, as always, Built Bar, we're going to talk about one of the sponsors of the show. Built Bar is incredible. It is something that I've started to lean on as my go-to healthy snack. I throw it in my backpack before I go to the gym. I throw it just in the car. If I'm going driving somewhere in the morning, I need to get to a meeting or work. Throw it in the car, throw it in the backpack. It is a easy, inexpensive, healthy meal. It's like I'm not going to throw any other names out there, but it's like some of those other protein bars out there, some of those other healthy bars, except it tastes good. Okay. They take something that's healthy and they find a way through the magic of science and nutritional magic to make it healthy. It's incredible. The best way to do it, in my opinion, is you get their variety box and you get like 12 different types, and they're all incredible. Mint brownie, coconut almond, banana cream pie, which is my favorite. They have really good tasting stuff that when you put it into your body, you can tell it's quality. You can tell it's nutritious. You feel really good after it. It is your sidekick on your health journey, and they're building a community here. And we're just grateful to be part of that community. And now we're just trying to spread the word. Again, this is something we use, we like, and we wouldn't try to sell it on anybody if we didn't. If you go to built.com, use promo code LOCKED15. That's built.com, promo code LOCKED15, and you get 15% off your order. Use promo code LOCKED15 for 15% off your order. You will not regret it. Thank you again for making Locked On Badgers your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get podcasts. Continue tuning in to all the Locked On networks. NFL draft is coming up. There's a ton of great coverage on the entire Locked On network devoted to the NFL draft. All right. Let's get into now. We talked about it a little bit. We've lost 4 underclassmen. Brad Davidson graduated. Chris Vogt graduated. What are we actually counting on coming back on this basketball roster? And I think this is a fascinating topic, right? Are there any stars? Is there a bona fide first team All Big Ten, maybe even second team All Big Ten player coming back next year? I don't think so. Okay. I think you have 2 guys that are right below that tier, and in Chucky Hepburn and Tyler Wahl, right? I think both of those guys are right below the kind of all Big Ten type player. And maybe Wahl will get there, like a second team all Big Ten, or maybe Hepburn in a couple years. Definitely Hepburn in a couple years. But you have two very quality Big Ten starters, right? At point guard, and depending on where Wahl's going to slot in next year, it's really going to kind of depend on what we get in the transfer market, who makes a jump. Wahl can be a 3 or a 4, right? We know that. So you have two good starters there, and then you have Stephen Crowl, who I think is an average Big Ten starter. Like, if we're being honest with ourselves, I think there's more there. I think he's going to get stronger. I think he needs to get stronger. I think the experience he got this year can be used as a springboard for next year. But we also have to be honest and say that he was also inconsistent. There were games where he disappeared. I thought the Iowa State game at the end of the year was one of the worst games he played. I thought Chris Vogt outplayed him, quite frankly. Now there's skills there. He's shown the ability to be a pick and pop 3. He can move his feet pretty well. He can play defense. He has to get better. But at a minimum, let's say he doesn't progress. Not everybody does. I think he will get better. But if he doesn't, I think you have an average Big Ten quality center. So those 3 guys are coming back, right? You have 2 above average to potentially all Big Ten-ish type starters in Hepburn and Wahl, even though I don't think they'll be there next year. And then you have an average starter. Then what else after that? Okay, who coming off the bench is proven. And frankly, we have nobody else, right? This is where this offseason is going to get wild. It's going to get super interesting. We have nothing else that you could really point to and say, yeah, we can count on that, right? Or, yeah, I know for a fact I'm going to get this out of that. Now we have Jacoby Neath is coming back, and he played some this year. He had a ton of injuries. It's probably unfair to really judge him the totality of his season, right? Because he was just dealing with injuries the entire season. He had a knee surgery at the end of the year. You know, he said he was dealing with it the entire year. And he's a former Wake Forest guy. Like that, he has a pedigree there as a recruit. He's athletic. He's big-bodied. He still shot really bad, right? I mean, so is he going to be part of the plan next year? Absolutely, 100%. Is he going to be in the rotation? Absolutely, 100%. How much can we really count on getting from Jacoby Neath? That's kind of the question. And I don't think we have a great answer for it. I really don't. I could see him definitely taking a step up, another year in the system, especially if he gets healthy. He has unique athletic ability for a guard. Like he can really play some bully ball. I think he can put people on the post. I think he can compete on, the glass as a guard. He can get a lot of kind of hustle plays. He has that type of ability. He's going to have to prove it. And then you have this trio of kind of young players, right? That really either didn't play this year or played sparingly. So you have Jordan Davis, obviously Johnny's brother. And he was really billed coming in as a recruit as a kind of a 3-and-D guy, a guy who could play defense and hit some shots. I don't know if we really saw that this year, to be honest. I thought the form on his shot looked good, but frankly, he didn't hit it, right? He shot like most players on the team. It was a poor shooting season for Davis. And defensively, I thought he had moments, but I thought there was inconsistency there too. He's another guy who's going to play. I don't know how much you're going to get there. Then you have Markus Ilver, who, is an athletic, kind of big-bodied forward. A lot of people are high on him. He didn't crack the rotation this year. And that doesn't mean he can't be a good player. I think it is a little disconcerting considering how bad the bench was that Ilver couldn't find a role, couldn't carve out 5 to 10 minutes, right? I think that if we're being completely honest with ourselves, 2 things can be true here. Right? If we're being completely honest with ourselves, that's a little disconcerting. It also doesn't mean the book is written on Ilver. Ilver has a lot of room to go, a lot of room to grow, a lot of time left to get to that ceiling that he has, which is an athletic floor spacing forward that has the ability to shoot and also the ability to kind of use his athleticism in the paint, driving to the rim. He needs to make a big jump. He's the one guy on this roster, really outside of the starters, that can really realistically make a huge jump and immediately help out next year. He's kind of the internal option, the best internal option, in my opinion, because I think he has a unique set of skills, and I think there's untapped potential there. Now, he's got to prove it. Like, he's got to carve out that role this offseason. Frankly, the team absolutely needs it. And then you have Chris Hodges, who's really kind of billed as almost like a junkyard doggish type interior presence. He's a little undersized, but has some athletic ability, some long arms, kind of a shot blocking guy. I think he's a little ways off from everything we've read. And that's kind of what you got coming back. Now, there are a couple preferred walk-ons, guys who transferred in, like Carter Gilmore was a walk-on. That was on, well, he was on scholarship this year. There's questions as to whether or not he's going to be on scholarship next year. He played quite a bit early in the year, right? He's kind of billed as a guy who can stretch the floor a little bit, play a little 3 or 4, switch a little bit. But he didn't shoot well. Like again, most on the team. So I think he's gonna play next year. I think there's gonna be a role. Obviously, the coaching staff thought enough of him this season to get him on the court early and play 10, 15 minutes in some games. Now, he didn't play that well, right? And as the season wore on, we saw less and less of Carter Gilmore, down to the point where there was nothing. There's essentially no Carter Gilmore minutes towards the end of the year, which again is a little disconcerting if we're going to count on him next year. But he's going to have a full offseason to get better, a full offseason to continue shooting. I do think that he can be a floor spacing forward. I think that's in him. Now he's got to hit the shots to prove it, right? And then you have Isaac Lindsey, the in-state player who was at UNLV, had an injury, transferred over to Wisconsin, played a tiny bit this year, got in at the end of the Iowa State game, actually, for a few minutes, and immediately took a 3, right? Got in, dusted his warm-ups off, and then immediately took kind of a 1-dribble 3, pull up and shoot. Honestly, the form looked really good. The shot didn't go in like much of Wisconsin season. Most of our 3-pointers didn't go in. But it wouldn't shock me if Isaac Lindsey also gets in on the mix a little bit. And that's it, guys. Right? This cupboard, I struggle to think of a Wisconsin team that has less kind of in the cupboard coming back. I really struggle to think of it. The best player next year is probably Tyler Wahl. It's either Wahl or Hepburn, right? And neither of those players have really proven to be good enough to carry a team. It's going to be very interesting. So, like I said, we wanted to kind of talk about what's the roster look like just from a 30,000-foot view, with all the departures, with all the graduations. And if you're going to list them out by tiers, like tier A is a star, tier B is a really good starter, tier C is average. I mean, there's no tier A players on this roster, in my opinion, next year. There's only a couple tier B, either really good starters, and everything else is either average or just complete unknowns. And some of the guys that you're counting on internally to take those steps, quite frankly, and again, I'm not writing the book on any of these guys, I'm not closing the chapter on any of these guys, but some of those pieces internally we're looking at, hopefully, taking a big step next year. I don't think they showed a lot this year, or they couldn't even get on the floor. And we talked about the depth limitations of this team. So it is a little disconcerting in an era of college basketball where young players play more and more, and where a Wisconsin team had essentially nobody come off the bench, that a guy like Markus Ilver couldn't carve out a role, that Jordan Davis couldn't hit some wide open shots that he was getting, right? That Carter Gilmore's minutes disappeared. I expect all those guys will be better next year. I expect Ilver will be better. I expect Jordan Davis will be better. I expect Carter Gilmore will be better. I expect Isaac Lindsey to get better. But they're going to have to get a lot better, right? Jacoby Neath, I expect him to be better as well, but he's going to have to get a lot better. That's the thing. Incremental gains for those guys isn't going to be enough, right? If Jacoby Neath gets 10% better, it's not going to be enough. If Markus Ilver gets 10% better, it's not going to be enough. He has to take a big jump, right? I've talked about it. I think Ilver is the guy that needs to take the biggest jump internally, because I think he's the guy with the most unique skill set on the team. And he's the one dude who could really grow into a spot and elevate the team. I don't think Neath can be that guy. I just don't. And I don't think Jordan Davis can either. Although I do have an interesting thought on Jordan Davis. And I'm curious what you guys think. I almost think, and I know they're brothers, they probably wouldn't say this, or maybe they would, I don't know. I almost think Jordan Davis will do better outside of Johnny Davis's shadow, right? I think there's probably going to be a little less spotlight and attention on him as Davis's other brother. And I think he can just kind of move into his role. And his role still can have a lot of value. He's not the athlete that Johnny is. He's never going to be the player that Johnny is. And that's totally okay, by the way. I think he can really settle in. He's got good size. He's got good length. He's got good athleticism. He comes from the same type of I think he's probably got a lot of the same mentality and tenacity that his brother has. It'd be interesting to me if they didn't, right? Playing against each other their whole lives, growing up together their whole lives. I think he's going to have some of that same competitiveness. And I think he can hit shots and play D. So if you can have a competitive wing player with some size who can hit shots and play defense, that's a super valuable player in college basketball. I mean, that's a super valuable player in every level of basketball in 2022. So I expect him to be, a 10 to 15 minute game guy next year, maybe more. And I think he can take a jump. As for the two guys that we talked about last, Carter Gilmore and Isaac Lindsey, I actually think Lindsey is the guy that we need more of a jump out of. I think he's a more natural athlete, and he's got a little more length. I think he can be a guy also that can give us some shooting, which again is the biggest weakness on this team. One other guy we can talk about, I didn't list it, but I'm just thinking about it now. Connor Segian is the freshman coming in, the only recruit coming into this class. He's a shooter, right? He's a shooting guard, enough length, and a really pure looking shooter in high school. That doesn't always translate, but again, given the weaknesses on this team, the backcourt and shooting, right? let me repeat that. The weaknesses on this team next year, the backcourt and shooting. Okay. And Connor Segian plays in the backcourt and he can shoot. So it wouldn't be normal for Wisconsin, but just given what we have and we have coming back, it's definitely possible that, we see Connor get some actual minutes as a true freshman next year. And if he can shoot, he might hold on to those minutes. All right, guys, coming up, we're going to talk about JJ Kohl. So there is a really the most realistic and pretty big time prospect in the 2023 football recruiting class at quarterback is JJ Kohl. He's coming back on campus for a visit. We're going to get into that, talk about his game a little bit and what it would mean for Wisconsin to land a verbal commit for him, and also what happens if we don't. So that's coming up next. But first, today's show, one of the hallmarks, one of our best sponsors, one of our favorite people to work with, favorite groups to work with is BetOnline. BetOnline is your number one source for all your betting needs and sports info. It's unbelievable. Their setup is easy to use. We use it all the time. And even now that college basketball's over, right? NFL futures, NBA playoffs, baseball started. I was on the Braves winning money line last night and made $20 off of it, right? I've talked about some of my future bets I like. I like the Bengals as a futures bet. You can get them to, I think it's like plus 1,100 to win the AFC for a team with a lot of young talent and a great young quarterback. I've talked about the 49ers plus 700. I think Trey Lance is the real deal. So you can go, if you have a hot take, if you think who's going to win next year's NFC Championship, next year's AFC South, whatever it is, all the futures are on BetOnline. You go there, make the prediction, put your money where your mouth is, and make some nice cash. It's also not just sports, right? BetOnline has all your Vegas games, roulette, blackjack, everything you want to do. They have sports news and podcasts. Really the best way to stay on top of everything happening in the sports world and the sports gambling world. BetOnline. Head to the website today. Use your mobile device to learn more about the trends in action. BetOnline, where the game starts. All right, guys, let's talk quarterback recruiting, okay? And to me, this is an enormous topic because we've talked about in a couple shows the quarterback depth, the lack of quality depth right now, or I should say the lack of proven quality depth. And Wisconsin is in a spot where our quarterback room just the last couple of years hasn't been very good, right? It hasn't performed. Graham Mertz hasn't performed, and the people behind him, whether it's Chase Wolf or Deacon Hill, who really hasn't had much of a chance, but we haven't been able to push him either. So going into the 2023 recruiting class, I think landing a quality quarterback is enormously important. We have to continue adding to that quarterback room. And we don't have a lot of quarterbacks right now in high school ranks where we're in a good spot for. But one of those guys that we potentially have a chance with, JJ Kohl. He is a 2023 Iowa recruit, 6'6", 230 pounds, high 3-star kid. Other offers from LSU, Boston College, Iowa State. Definitely somebody who is a big-time target out there for a lot of programs. He just had a great showing at a regional Elite 11 camp. He, watching film of that, he's kind of got a little, and I don't want Badger fans to be put off by this when I say this, he's got a little Joel Stave in him. By the way, I actually like Joel Stave a lot more than most Badger fans. To me, some Badger fans might look at that as a knock. I actually thought he was pretty good. And I think this kid's better than Joel, by the way. But he's got kind of that tall frame. He's not a complete statue. He moves okay. He's not ever going to be a running threat at the college level, but he moves okay. Like I said, he's a high 3-star kid, great offer list. He looks all of that 6'6", right? This is a big-bodied, tall-framed kid. He has a bit of a funky delivery. If you watch him play, he almost winds it up a little bit. It looks a little off natural, but he can really drive the ball. Like you can see it on his film. He really puts the ball in between defenders. He has great touch on long throws. And he does a lot of their offense is a lot of rolling out left and right, getting the pocket moving, and he throws really well on the move to the left and the right. To me, I wouldn't call this a game-changing type quarterback recruit. But this is definitely a very good quarterback recruit, in my opinion. The offer list reflects that. The size reflects that. The arm strength reflects that. his showing at camps and not combines, but like the Elite 11 regional camp also reflects that. He's generated a lot of buzz from those areas. And it's a guy that really Wisconsin has put most of their baskets into the JJ Kohl box, or most of their eggs. Sorry, most of their eggs into the JJ Kohl basket is what I meant to say. And I don't know where they go if they don't get this kid, because they have to add to that quarterback room. They have to do it. And right now, it kind of looks like JJ Kohl or bust. And I don't know if we lead right here. If you go to the 247 site, which is one of the recruiting sites, and this is not beyond a paywall, you can look. Right now, Iowa State is the only school that really has any crystal balls to land him. So it looks like maybe Iowa State is the leader. I know that he's pretty high in LSU apparently as well. But Wisconsin's getting another visit coming up soon. It's going to be a chance for Bobby Ingram, Paul Christ to really try to sell JJ Kohl on Wisconsin. And it would be a huge win. Like, this would be a really big recruiting win for many reasons, right? For the simple fact that we need to add quality to the quarterback room, but also because the 2023 football class is really lagging. And landing a quarterback that has some pedigree is one of the best ways to kind of start building momentum in a class. I think other players want to look at your class. They want to see a quarterback there. Players want to be part of good classes, and a quarterback can help sell that. So getting Kohl is not just about building that quarterback room, which is incredibly important, but it's also about getting some momentum going in the 2023 football class, which quite frankly, it's not there right now. So big visit coming up. Like I said, a big 6'6" pro style type quarterback that moves okay, has a big arm, can really drive the ball. It's definitely going to be a tough recruiting battle. He's not an in-state kid, and he's got a lot of other big time offers, but definitely somebody that the staff has to be all over. And I would assume they're going to throw everything they can at him at this upcoming visit. So we'll have to see where that goes. More on that as we learn more. But a big time target for the Wisconsin football staff. That's going to do it for today's show, guys. As always, I so appreciative of everyone that's listening. We're trying to build kind of this Wisconsin Badgers community. Very, very appreciative of everyone that's listening, everyone that's been tuning in. If you want to reach out to us, you can always reach out at lockedonbadgers@gmail.com. Send us any questions, comments, concerns, feedback. We'll get back to you there. And you can get us on Twitter at lockedonbadgers. And then on YouTube, if you like the show, if you like the content, please leave a comment, subscribe, leave a like. It really helps build the show and build the content there. And it helps us get you guys what you want to hear, so we can help get more information out to you guys. As always, thank you for making Locked On Badgers your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get podcasts. Also, go listen to Locked On NFL Draft as your second listen of the day. Ryan Tracy and former NFL quarterback Eric Crocker bring the NFL Draft to life with insight and analysis on college football prospects and NFL front offices. It's free and available wherever you get podcasts. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it, and we'll talk to you tomorrow.